Sorry, I never told you all I wanted to say.
On a winter afternoon in 2001, a church in Sydney fell completely silent. At the front, a 20-year-old son stood over 3 coffins, his mom, his dad, and his little sister, holding a microphone with shaking hands. As the music began, he started to sing One Sweet Day. His voice cracked. Mourners sobbed. Some whispered that he was incredibly brave just for standing up there. To everyone watching, Sef Gonzales looked like the picture of heartbreak, the only surviving member of a murdered family trying to honor the people he'd lost. For a moment, the entire room believed his pain. But away from the church lights and TV cameras, detectives were seeing something very different. They noticed how he talked about money, how his story shifted depending on who was listening, and how, for all the emotion in his voice, the tears people remembered never actually fell. Within a year, that same grieving son would be standing in a courtroom, accused of planning the murders, staging the crime scene, and using his family's deaths to chase $1 million inheritance. This is Fake Tears: How Sef Gonzales Fooled Everyone. To understand how we got from that funeral to a triple murder conviction, we need to go back to the night it all began. It's the night of July 10th, 2001, in North Ryde, a quiet middle-class suburb in Sydney, Australia. At 11:48 p.m., an operator at Australia's emergency number, 000, takes a call from a young man.
Please come! Someone has hurt my parents and my family.
Sorry?
Someone has shot my parents. Please come!
What's someone's what?
Someone has shot my parents. I think they're all bleeding. They're on the floor.
He sounds panicked and out of breath. He says something terrible has happened at his parents' home. His name is Sef Gonzales. He's 20 years old. According to him, he just walked in and found his parents and his sister on the floor, covered in blood and not moving. While he's on the phone, Sef runs across the street to his neighbor, John Atamian. John opens the door to a frantic Sef, saying his family has been attacked, that they're gone, that he needs help. John calls the police. Another neighbor, Shane Hanley, hears the commotion and comes outside. Sef tells him the same thing. Shane sees Sef sobbing, but he doesn't see any actual tears. It's just a strange detail in the chaos, but later, investigators will pay attention to it. Shane gets Sef to sit in the driveway. Sef suddenly jumps up, says he knows CPR, and runs back into the house. Shane follows. Just inside the entrance, on a rug in the foyer, lies Teddy Gonzales, Sef's father, unresponsive, on the floor, with his briefcase open beside him. Sef throws himself over his father, crying, "Papa, Papa!" and Shane pulls him away. In the living room, Mary Loiva Gonzales is on the floor near the coffee table, showing clear signs she has been seriously harmed. Again, Shane pulls Sef away and leads him outside. No one realizes yet that there is a third victim upstairs, 18-year-old Claudine, Sef's younger sister. Within minutes, police and paramedics arrive. From the outside, the house looks normal. No smashed glass, no kicked-in doors. Just a tidy 2-story home on a quiet street. Inside, they find Teddy in the foyer and Loiva in the living room. Both are cold to the touch. They've been dead for hours, not minutes. Upstairs, they find Claudine lying near her bedroom doorway. She, too, has clearly been dead for some time. 3 family members in 3 different parts of the house. Outside, 1 survivor, Sef. As the scene is secured, detectives start noticing details. Sef had suggested his family might have been shot, They're consistent with injuries caused by a knife, not gunfire. In a living area, there's blue spray-painted graffiti on the wall, a racist message, and 3 letters linked to a well-known hate group. It looks dramatic, but oddly positioned, facing a glass door as if meant to be seen from outside. The house looks searched, drawers pulled open, bags emptied, papers scattered. But cash is still in pockets, jewelry is still on Mary, expensive electronics are untouched. When investigators lift Teddy's briefcase and Mary's handbag, they find bloodstains underneath both items. That means they were placed there after the floor was already marked, after the violence had occurred. And the supposed break-in point, a kitchen window with a cut fly screen, doesn't show evidence that anyone actually climbed through it. The pattern of the cut, the lack of disturbance, all suggest one thing. This doesn't look like a chaotic robbery. It looks like a staged scene. Sef tells police he left his father's law office between 3 and 4 p.m., drove around, then met his friend Sam in the city around 8 p.m. They eat, play games, and he drops Sam home about 11:30 p.m. before returning to find the bodies. Parts of this are true. Sam and CCTV put Sef in the city that evening. But time of death estimates suggest Claudine likely died in the late afternoon, Loiva in the early evening, Teddy a little later, well before 8 p.m. And then there's Aunt Emily. Around 6 p.m., she visits the house, rings the doorbell, knocks at a side door, and gets no answer. But she sees Sef's car parked in the carport. If his car is there at 6 p.m. and no one answers, where is Sef and what's happening inside? Detectives don't have enough to arrest him yet. Officially, he's still a witness. Unofficially, he's already their main focus. To understand why, we need to know who this family was and what kind of pressure was building long before July 10th. This story doesn't start in Sydney. It starts 11 years earlier, in the mountains of the Philippines, with an earthquake and a father crawling through rubble to save his son. July 16th, 1990, Baguio City, Philippines. Teddy and Mary Loiva Gonzales are building a middle-class life. Teddy is a lawyer and businessman. Loiva comes from a professional family. They have 2 children, Sef and Claudine. Teddy has just opened a new 40-room hotel, a symbol of everything he's worked for. Then a 7.7 magnitude earthquake hits. The hotel collapses. Teddy, Loiva, and young Claudine escape. 9-year-old Sef is trapped in the rubble. Teddy crawls back into the wreckage and pulls his son out, badly injured but alive. Sef undergoes surgeries and skin grafts, but he survives because his father risked his life to save him. The hotel is gone. The investment is ruined. The family is financially devastated. Seeing no future there, they decide to start over in Australia, joining relatives in Sydney. In the early 1990s, the Gonzales family settled in Sydney. Teddy requalifies as a lawyer, opens an immigration law practice, and Loiva helps run the office. They are devout Catholics, active in church, and determined to succeed. By 2000, they had a comfortable life and moved into a spacious 2-story home in North Ryde. On paper, it's the immigrant success story. Hard-working parents, 2 children in good schools, $1 million plus family estate in the making. But inside the house, expectations are high, especially for the eldest son, Sef. In many traditional Filipino families, the eldest son is expected to be the one who goes further. Doctor, lawyer, respected professional. Teddy and Loiva survived an earthquake, left their country, and rebuilt from scratch. They expected Sef to make that sacrifice worth it. The home is structured and disciplined. Church, school, respect, achievement. On the surface, Sef seems to live up to this. He does well in school, becomes a student leader, and is known for his musical talent. But under the surface, something else is growing. Sef isn't just trying to meet expectations. He's creating a fantasy version of himself that looks far more impressive than reality. To friends, Sef presents himself as someone extraordinary. He claims to have a multi-million-dollar record deal, says he's a world champion fighter who just competed overseas, talks about owning a TV production company and a successful events business, claims he's a lawyer in training, heading for medicine, with a condo and modeling prospects. None of it is true, but he's convincing. He mixes real details, like his father being a lawyer, with fiction. He even creates a fake fan website about himself. Outwardly, it looks like confidence. In reality, it's a carefully constructed lie. In 1999, Sef enrolled in medical science at university. He skips exams, fails subjects, and blames health problems. He withdraws. In 2000, he started an arts, law degree at Macquarie University. The same pattern repeats. Missed exams, poor performance, excuses. By mid-2001, he's at risk of being excluded. If his parents see his real grades, the image of their high-achieving son will completely collapse. So he does what he's already good at. He forges his transcripts. Semester after semester, Sef edits failing marks into passes and distinctions. Teddy and Loiva believe he's doing well. They celebrate his supposed success. He even offers to forge Claudine's results. She refuses, and that decision changes everything. Claudine and Sef have a typical but tense sibling relationship, sometimes close, sometimes cutting. She also knows personal things about him he's deeply ashamed of, and he resents her for it. When she realizes he's faking his grades, she confronts him. He tries to persuade her to let him forge hers too. She says no. Then she goes to their parents. She tells Teddy and Loiva that Sef has been lying about his university results for years. They're devastated. They give him an ultimatum: improve his results immediately, or they'll take away his car. Keep lying, and they'll consider cutting him out of the will. For Sef, that car and that inheritance are everything. His fantasy life depends on them, and instead of facing the truth, he escalates. In early 2001, Sef started researching poisonous plants and how to extract toxins from their seeds. He orders seeds of a highly toxic plant, lying to the supplier that they're a special 60th birthday gift for his mother. Days later, on July 1st, 2001, Loiva is suddenly hospitalized with a severe illness that looks like food poisoning, but doesn't quite fit. She recovers and returns home, not knowing investigators will later suspect it was an attempted poisoning. To support a poisoning cover story, Sef sends anonymous letters to a food company, federal police, and the quarantine service, claiming products have been contaminated. When those letters are examined later, one envelope carries his fingerprint. His forged life is collapsing. His parents are watching. His sister has exposed him. And, according to prosecutors, he's already willing to experiment with poison to make his problems disappear. When that doesn't solve anything, he turns to something more direct. That brings us back to July 10th, 2001. Quick content note. I'll describe the sequence of events, but I'll keep it non-graphic. July 10th, 2001. Teddy and Loiva go to the law office. Claudine stays home, studying on school holidays. Sef goes to university in the morning, then visits the office around lunchtime. Tension is high, midterm results are due, and his parents already know something is wrong. Between 3 and 4 p.m., Sef leaves the office and drives home. In his car is a baseball bat. Once inside, he takes 2 of the longest knives from the kitchen. At 4:04 p.m. upstairs, Claudine sends her last text message to a friend about a party. After that, her phone falls silent. In her bedroom, at her desk, Sef confronts Claudine with a bat and a knife. She tries to defend herself, but doesn't survive. Later, forensic evidence will show she was upright at first, then slumped where she was found. Afterwards, he covers part of her body with a red sweater, a small detail investigators note as a sign of emotional connection. Now Sef is alone in the house with his deceased sister. He has time, around 90 minutes before his mother gets home. He could call for help. He doesn't. He showers. He changes. He waits. Around 5:30 p.m., Loiva returns from work. She comes in carrying her handbag, still in her work clothes. According to the reconstruction, Sef confronts her soon after she enters the living area. She doesn't survive. Her handbag ends up tipped out near her. Later clearly staged to look like a search for valuables, evidence showed it had been moved after the fact. Around 6 p.m., Aunt Emily comes to visit. She sees Sef's car in the carport, rings the bell, knocks on another door, no answer. She leaves, unsettled, but with no idea her sister and niece are already gone and that Sef is likely hiding inside. Sometime after 6 p.m., Teddy calls home twice. No answer. Around 7 p.m., he arrives at the house with his briefcase. What happens inside the foyer is fatal. Later, his briefcase is found open with papers scattered, but forensic analysis shows it had been placed there after the event as part of a staged scene. By shortly after 7 p.m., all 3 members of the Gonzales family are dead. Now Sef turns the house into a fake crime scene. He gathers the knives, the bat, and his bloody clothes and shoes and takes them out of the house. They're never found. He sprays racist graffiti on a wall facing the glass door. He cuts and props the kitchen fly screen to fake a break-in. He opens drawers and empties bags to mimic a robbery, but leaves cash and valuables. Then he leaves to meet Sam at around 8 p.m., right on time for a pre-arranged dinner. CCTV shows them at a restaurant and arcade. Sef appears quiet and says he's not feeling well, mentioning his family recently had food poisoning. After dinner and games, he drops Sam home around 11:30 p.m., drives back to North Ryde, walks into the staged house, and calls 000 at 11:48 p.m.
Someone attacked my parents and my family.
Sorry?
Someone has shot my parents. Please come.
What? Someone's what?
Someone has shot my parents. I think they're all bleeding. They're on the floor.
That's where we first met him in this story. In the days after the murders, Sef becomes the public face of the case. He gives TV interviews outside the family home, voice shaking, talking about how much he loved his parents and sister. He calls them 3 corners of my world. He announces a $100,000 reward for information, despite having almost no money of his own. The only way he could fund that reward is by inheriting the family estate. 10 days after the murders, at the funeral, he sings One Sweet Day in front of the 3 coffins. Some people are moved. Others, including Aunt Emily, feel something is off, like they're watching a performance, not raw grief. They notice his eyes are dry. All the while, detectives are quietly building a case. Among all the evidence, one detail is almost invisible, but hugely important. During the forensic examination of Sef's clothing from the night of the 000 call, analysts find a tiny fleck of blue paint on his sleeve. They test it and compare it with the paint from the racist graffiti on the wall. It matches. This matters because Sef claims he didn't know about the graffiti until police pointed it out. For that to be true, someone else would have had to spray it and somehow get their paint on his clothes without him knowing. The more logical conclusion? He sprayed it himself. Investigators photograph bloody shoe prints at the scene. The tread pattern, brand, and size is clear enough to identify. In Sef's wardrobe, they find an empty shoebox of that same brand and size. The shoes themselves are missing, likely removed along with the weapons and bloody clothes. Police buy an identical pair and compare the soles to the prints. They match. Those prints lead from Teddy to Loiva and up the stairs toward Claudine's room, connecting the attacks as the work of one person wearing shoes that match a box in Sef's room. On the family computer and Sef's devices, forensic teams find searches about ways to kill and poisonous plants, the seed order for toxic plant seeds, drafts of the contamination letters, records linking him to the letters, including a fingerprint on the envelope sent to federal police. After the murders, they revisit Loiva's hospitalization 9 days earlier. Her sudden, severe illness, the timing, and the poison research. It all supports the prosecution's theory that Sef had already attempted poisoning and tried to create a fake product contamination story as cover. Sef's behavior in the weeks following the murders raises more questions. He asks the family accountant about the estate just days after the deaths. He moves into a nice apartment in Chatswood. He puts a deposit on a $173,000 Lexus, telling the salesman he'll pay with his inheritance. He sells his parents' cars and pawns some of his mother's jewelry. On TV, he's the devastated son. Off camera, he's acting like someone whose long dreamed of lifestyle has finally arrived. For detectives, the picture is clear. Now, they need to break his alibi. Sef's first story is that after arriving home around 6 p.m., he stayed in his car because of rain, got a text from Sam changing their meeting from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., called the house and his mom's mobile with no answer, then went out driving before finally meeting Sam. Phone records prove there is no text from Sam changing the time. There are no calls from Sef's mobile to the house or his mother at that time. Sam confirms they always plan to meet at 8 p.m., no change. Aunt Emily's visit around 6 p.m., seeing his car, getting no answer at the door, now looks even more suspicious. His first alibi collapses. Months later, Sef suddenly offers a new version. He says he left the car at home, walked to a service station, took a taxi to Chatswood, walked to a brothel, spent time with a specific sex worker, then took another taxi back before meeting Sam. To support this, he pays a taxi driver $50 to sign a false statement saying he drove Sef that day. Sends over 100 text messages to the sex worker, pressuring her to back up his story. When police check, taxi records show the driver wasn't working that night and had never met Sef. The sex worker wasn't on shift that night at all. And police already have Sef's phone tapped. They see the pressure and the lies in real time. Now he's not just a suspect in a murder case. He's also clearly trying to manipulate witnesses. He also tells relatives he has a brain tumor, sends forged medical documents, and tries to get $190,000 from his godmother in the Philippines, money from his father's estate. She checks with the police. The story is false. Then, on May 31, 2002, he claims he's been kidnapped, bundled into a car, threatened not to talk to the media, then dumped on the roadside. Police find him with minor injuries that don't match his dramatic story. They believe he staged the whole thing to suggest the real killers are still out there and to stop doing media. At this point, they've had enough. They've built a strong circumstantial case. They have physical, digital, and behavioral evidence. They've watched 2 alibis fall apart and seen him try to bribe and pressure people. They send in an undercover officer who befriends Sef. Off guard, he mentions details about the crime scene that were never released publicly, details only the killer would know. That's the final piece they need. On June 13, 2002, nearly 11 months after the murders, police arrest Sef Gonzales and charge him with 3 counts of murder, 1 count of threatening product contamination. The performance is over. Sef spent almost 2 years on remand before his trial began in April 2004 in the New South Wales Supreme Court. The prosecution presents everything we've covered. The defense argues police focused too quickly on Sef, that other suspects weren't investigated enough, and that the case is circumstantial. Sef testifies, denying everything. But the jury didn't take long. After less than a day of deliberation, on May 20th, 2004, they find him guilty on all counts. The murders of his father Teddy, his mother Mary Loiva, his sister Claudine, and the product contamination threat. In September 2004, just after Sef's 24th birthday, Justice Bruce James sentenced him to 3 concurrent life sentences without parole. He describes the murders as premeditated and meticulously planned, motivated by a mix of self-interest and greed, involving an extreme breach of trust and a complete lack of genuine remorse. He rules that Sef should never be released. Over the years, Sef files appeals and requests for judicial inquiries. All are rejected. Then, in 2025, his legal team presents new evidence that he suffers from PTSD, allegedly linked to childhood abuse and earlier trauma. They argue this should have been considered at sentencing. The court agrees that the PTSD evidence is significant enough to review his sentence, not his conviction. That appeal is ongoing, and it may decide whether his punishment remains life without parole or becomes life with a possibility of parole one day. But either way, his conviction for killing his family stands. Today, Sef Gonzales is held in a maximum security prison in New South Wales. He's been behind bars for over 2 decades and continues to maintain his innocence. The house at 6 Collins Street was eventually sold, but only after controversy when earlier buyers discovered its history from the news, not the real estate agent. The backlash helped push for clearer disclosure rules about stigmatized properties, sometimes informally linked to this case. 3 people lost their lives in this story. Teddy Gonzales, a father who once crawled through earthquake rubble to save his son, only to be killed in his own home. Mary Loiva, a devoted mother and the quiet heart of the family. Claudine, just 18, with her future ahead of her, studying in her bedroom. They weren't just victims in a headline. They were a family who had already survived disaster once, only to be destroyed from the inside. What makes this case so disturbing isn't only the violence, it's the performance that followed. The TV interviews, the funeral song, the reward offered using money he'd only get because they were dead. The endless lies designed to protect one person, himself. In the end, what cut through that performance wasn't a dramatic confession. It was the evidence, a fleck of paint, a shoe print, a fingerprint on an envelope, a timeline that didn't match, a pattern of lies that never stopped. Sef Gonzales thought he could outsmart the truth, but the truth was patient, and it won. Rest in peace, Teddy, Mary Loiva, and Claudine Gonzales. You deserved better than what happened to you, and better than the lies that followed. If you'd like more deep dive, evidence-driven true crime stories, feel free to stay tuned, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which case you think deserves this level of detail next.